everyone, Lane here from Maker's Lane. So recently I had a friend reach out to me and ask if I could build a twin bed for their twin girls. The one stipulation was that it had to be easily transportable, which means basically it had to collapse or had to be in parts so that it was easy to move around and put into storage and stuff like that. The bed frame is going to be like one of those house type bed frames. It'll look a little bit like this. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to use, I call it the IKEA method. You have these guys. That's what they look like. You have holes in the board, and then these go into them, and then you use an Allen wrench to actually tighten them down. And then once they're fully tightened down, you have a screw that goes into them. And so the end pieces will have these in them, and then I'll have a bunch of these for her to use to actually build the bed itself. So it's gonna be a pretty simple wood project. The only complicated part is making it so it's all the way collapsible. So it has to be rigid enough to stand well enough on its own, and at the same time it has to be able to be secured with the bolts. All right, so I've already gotten everything I need, I think. So I'll lay it out on the table here, and we'll get started on the build. Alright, so I think this is all the material we're going to need for the build. So these are 3/8 dowels that I cut down. They were actually full, like 4-foot pieces that I just cut down into 2-inch sections. You're going to need a whole bunch of these. I don't actually know how many I got. And the boards, these aren't all the boards. I have more boards over there. I just didn't feel like getting them all out. I have 15 of these. They're 3.5 by 8-foot sections. They're pretty rough, so I have to put them through the planer first in order to get these edges. They actually have these weird grooves in them. Well, these are the inserts. Those guys. So I got a 30 pack of these and a 30 pack of these. This will be linked in the description below. This is from the local hardware store, and so is this. So let's get started by planing all these down. All right, to the planer. Alright, so now that we got them all planed down to the thickness we want and the widths cut to, so I'm going to draw it up and show you exactly what you're going to need and what the sizes are going to be. Alright, so here is a very crude drawing of what it will look like. We need 7 pieces, 33 inches. 6 times at that 76 inches. We need 4. They are 29 inches. 4 of these at 53 inches. 1 at 45.5. So 13, 15-inch pieces. All these 15-inch pieces will have dowels in the end of them. All the 33s will have dowels in them. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's go cut some wood, and then we can start building. So that's everything cut. So I got all the boards laid out here. I actually had 3 extra boards. You should only use roughly 11 to 13 boards to build this project. It's not a whole lot of wood involved in this. The next step is going to be the long, tedious task of basically what we're doing is we have the board here, and so I'll drill holes in the end of it, and then these will stick out. So I'll have to do all these boards will have dowels going into them, and then these corresponding boards, these will have holes coming out of them. I'll find the middle, and then I'll split the difference between the middle and the end, and so that way I have 3 points on this. As far as the longer piece, there'll be a total of 5 slats going across there. So let's clean the table off of all the stuff we don't need right now and start getting ready to put dowels in these. Okay, so here's the situation. So I need to have these in the center and have them aligned so that they are the same in the vertical as they are in the horizontal. So one of the ways I'm going to do that by using this jig to find the center of the board. So you just twist it and it finds the center with that board. So that's how I'm going to get the center of this. And then how I'm going to mark the 2 is, so these are 3.5 inches. This triangle has this notch here to where you can mark an inch. So I'm gonna mark an inch there, and then do the same thing on this side. So mark that inch there. So I marked that, so that way all these pieces will be the same. And so how I'm gonna do the same thing on there is I will find the halfway point, put the halfway point where it is supposed to be here, and then mark the inch again. Say right here, here's in the middle. It should line up the same for this, which it does. So that's basically how I'm gonna find or get the center of both the points. Okay, so I just finished putting all the holes and all the ends of these boards. The ends are done. I also went ahead and marked where I want the slats for the uprights to be. So I got all of these marked. Now we're just gonna do the sides, and then once we're done with this, we can start putting the dowels and start gluing the sides pieces up. Okay, so now that I have all the dowels put in the ends of these boards, I can start putting these cross members together. So I have these I have to put it on. I also have one long runner I have to do, and then one half runner I have to do. We're gonna put these together, and then that should be it for the dowel. The rest will be secured with the wood inserts. Let's put the two end pieces together, and then we'll put the two side pieces together. So while the two end pieces and the one side piece are drying up, I figured I'd go over this other side. It's a little bit more complicated. So it's still gonna have some slats going down, but this part will be basically the door opening. So it'll be the other side. So basically I'm gonna put these three slats on here, then put this together, and then put all four of these pieces into that guy. So while those side pieces are all just finished drying up, I'm going to work on the top triangle part of it. I'm not actually 100% how I'm gonna clamp this top together because I don't have one of those fancy corner clamps or whatever. And so what I think I'm gonna do, so these I'm first gonna drill some more pocket holes in, or not pocket holes, dowels. And so these will both have dowels in them, and they'll be lined up, and then they'll go together. All right, let's put the holes in them first. Okay, holes have been made. Let's get the clamps. All right, we got our dowels. Got some glue. So I clamp these two onto these boards to basically give it a square edge. And then I took this and clamped the top right by the feet, and then I did the same thing with this on the bottom with these guys. So it works, I guess. All right, so this next part's gonna take a little bit more finesse. I'm attaching this to the top here. The reason why it's gonna take a little bit more is because I need to get exactly here. This part doesn't really matter, but I don't want to get in this crack here or it won't be as tight. So I need to get it here, but if I get too far to the edge, obviously it could split this wood. So I gotta find basically a happy medium. All right, let's get the dowels drilled. Okay, so I don't know if I've really explained how I do this. Do you see that hole? Obviously is the one, it's the most worn out. That's the one that I use with this guy. Really, how I do these holes is I take this piece and then you turn it sideways and it locks this foot, and then there's another foot right here. So these 2 feet lock. So basically you put it at a diagonal and it locks. So one hits back here and then one hits up front. And then what I do is I take this line and I line it up in the center of this. It looks like that. So the line is through the thickest part of this. So like that would be wrong, that would be wrong, but that is where I want it, right like that. So that's how I drill all these. Now we gotta wait for them to dry. The only part I have left to put together, so this is basically, I already made a cut, so this is basically what it'll look like when it's done. So it'll cut like this, and then once it's done, I'll flip it over and put them together like this, and that will be the top piece. What happens when you cut through a knot. I think we could still save it. Here's what I think is the fun part. This is where we make this bed a little bit more unique, because we're going to add these wood inserts, these guys right here, into the end of this board. So this is going to sit here and allow this screw to lock to this, which basically means it's collapsible. So all 4 of the sides will be able to collapse, and then there'll be 3 top members that you'll be able to take off too. If you didn't want to make it collapsible, at this point you could just drill dowels in the end of here and then just make this permanent. Or you could put screws if you want to put screws in it. What we're going to do to this bed is going to make it so that it's completely flat and you can store it and it's easy to transport. So say your kid outgrows this and you decide you want to sell it, you can actually sell it. You don't have to have a full-size truck. You can put it in the back of an SUV. I have a drill bit on here that's the same width as this. So I'm just going to drill all the way through. Once I do drill the hole all the way through, I'll have to come back and drill this hole a little bit bigger for the insert. So this is like a 1/4 inch bit, and I needed 3/8 for this. So we'll have to come back and do that. Yeah, let's put these inserts in here and then we'll be able to route and paint. be done. So, next. That one's done. Now I got like 29 more of these to do, so let's get to it. Okay, so here it is, all done and put together. Well, not all done, but here it is, all built. So now I have to route it and sand it and then put some paint on it and it's done. There's one more thing I wanted to show you before we continue. This part here, so you got this big cross member coming across here and then you got this upright here. And so I wanted this part and this part to be detachable. So what I did, so I drilled a hole that is the size of this, and I drilled it all the way to about here, and then I put the insert in this thing. So basically you just have to take a really long Allen key and then turn it in this way, but now it's secured together. So that's all good. So now let's sand and route, and we can paint it. So I got all the sanding done. Now it's time to paint. These twin beds were for twins, so I need to build a second one. So there we go. And now I can start painting everything. It'll be fun. Alright, well, everything's painted. So I'm going to do one final assembly to make sure everything fits together right still. And once everything fits together, I'm going to do one last sanding, and then I'm going to go and take it apart. And when I take it apart, I'm going to label everything. So that way, when the customer goes to put it back together, she just has to look at the labels and it's really easy for her to put back together. Put it together one more time. Well, we're both done. I hope the customer will be happy. If you guys have any questions about what I used or how I did anything, just hit me up in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Lane from Maker's Lane. You guys have a good one.